or make exception to zoning requirements. And if agencies resist, the authority can apply for a step-in order, where the minister effectively grants the approval himself with full legal effect. Madam Speaker, speed is necessary, but speed must not become a mechanism to bypass environmental safeguards, planning authorities, and professional judgment, all through a process that remains internal to the executive. There are transparency claims versus the legal reality. Madam Speaker, we were told this authority will operate with unprecedented transparency. But what does the bill actually require? 1, a register of projects, annual report to the minister. And at the same time, in section 14, it creates a broad secrecy obligation with criminal penalties for disclosure. There is no requirement to publish procurement awards, no requirement to publish contracts, no requirement to publish step-in decisions, expert advice summaries, project amendments, directive notices, no requirement to publish performance dashboard. Madam Speaker, a registry is not transparency, member from St. Andrew North Central. And secrecy, backed by criminal sanction, is not the same as accountability. The FAST program, Madam Speaker, that is narrowly tailored disaster recovery is a broad investment fast-track regime. We must ask, is this a reconstruction bill or a parallel development framework with extraordinary executive powers? Madam Speaker, we are not here to block progress. We are here to strengthen the law so that progress is sustainable, credible, and fair. Statutory oversight. JAMRAC should be established in the Act, define its composition and publications duties, guarantee opposition participation, and require semi-annual public reports. The procurement safeguards in law. You need to insert procurement principles, transparency, competitive bidding, value for money, conflict of interest rules, and require publication of all major contracts. With transparency, mandatory provision of project list and update, procurement awards, directive issues, step-in orders, application and orders, performance metrics. All of that. The parliamentary oversight, there should be mandatory semi-annual reports to Parliament, not only reports to the minister. And he should. In closing, Madam Speaker, the bill is being presented as a vehicle for national transformation, and it may very well be, but transformation must be built on trust anchored in law, not trust resting on promises. The country needs speed, yes, but the country needs safeguards. If JAMRAC is essential, put it in the bill. If transparency is essential, put it in the bill. If procurement integrity is essential, put it in the bill. If those measures are truly essential, they should be written into the legislation before Parliament passes it. Madam Speaker, we support reconstruction. We support urgency, but we do not support unchecked power. We do not support rebuilding on a weak governance foundation.
Do you think all dishwashing soaps are the same? Try Dawn.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the ways of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law do we meditate day and night. For we shall be like trees planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth our fruit in our season. Our leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever we do it shall prosper. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show. This evening we are also live on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, covering the most big part, the most of Florida, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York City. Good evening and welcome to the Colin Bell Show. My name is Colin Bell, and if you're just joining us, we have been listening to the live debate from the House of Representatives right here in Jamaica as they debate the NARA. Yeah? The National Agency, National whatever, and Reconstruction Bill. That is what they're discussing.
I've actually written it. You know, I was going through the NARA legislation, and I kept thinking about my responsibility as a member elected to this parliament by the people of Southwest St. Andrew, and my responsibility to ensure that we pass fair laws.
Playing her part in the debate now is MP Angela Brownburk.
So in this regard, I went and I looked at the objects of the bill to make provision for the management and implementation of post-disaster reconstruction and resilience efforts consequent on the passage of Hurricane Melissa and for resilience generally. And this has my full support. In fact, I don't believe that there's anyone in Jamaica who would not support these objects. Yes? I am, however, extremely concerned that such an important institution, having a highly centralized, almost one-man driven structure, who himself is handpicked by the minister with a blank check and unfettered powers. And that also there are very weak provisions for transparency and accountability. I'm concerned about that. And what makes this even that much harder to vote yes is that it's being railroaded through Parliament by a government who had no problem in 2017, agreeing to 427 million Jamaican dollars and paying out 50% of that as a deposit for used cars for our police officers without any accountability. Even now, not a soul knows where they carry them there. The same government with the ministers spending money on the big birthday cake. Who remember the Nutri-Bullet scandal? Who remember that? Producing less, costing more, with no real accountability for distribution. Anybody here remember CMU and how taxpayers' money was being spent in 2019? The truth is that the same issues in all of those. Yeah, man, that was the used car scandal we talked about. The same issues, serious procurement breaches, contract bidding rules being breached, payments to connected persons as contractors. And it was the same issue with Petrojam, with Nestle. Who remember Western Hospitality Institute, that many thought was a eat a food prosperity thing at once. So when all these things are on my mind, it makes me very uneasy. Yes? I also want to remind us that in most of the cases I've cited, what the Auditor General's recommendation was. It was about adherence to public procurement laws and the transparency of the process. But I guess now we don't have to worry about those because they're not even in there. Yeah, so you can ignore the transparency and you can ignore procurement laws. I believe that we do need, because the government has come here several times talking about the issues with procurement. And I have no difficulty if we believe that there needs to be changes, yes, around public procurement at this time. Then let's do it. Let's say that. Let's begin to see that at work in this bill that is before us. Yeah? And so, Madam Speaker, through you to the PM, I'm sure that he would have also seen the recommendations from JFJ and JET, yes? Outlining targeted amendments to the NARA bill, drawing from other jurisdictions. And I'm hoping that although I heard that we were going to take the bill through all the stages today, I am still hopeful that with all of the public sentiment, with the concerns of the opposition, that the Prime Minister and his team will find it in their heart to understand our concern as public and our public duty, and pause for a while, review and rework, and wheel and come again. I really am hoping so that we can actually go together. Some people say that it's not within the Prime Minister. I don't think so. I believe that at his core, he must have the people of Jamaica at heart. Yes, I do. I believe that. Because I don't think that persons make this kind of political sacrifice to just come here and run roughshod over with these bills and to see others just stuff their money, their pocket full of money and don't have no concern. I don't believe that. And so I am still hopeful that common sense will prevail and that sense of working together would lead to a different outcome. So that's the first point I wanted to make in terms of why I am uneasy, yeah, with the bill as it is. The second point I want to make is really because at heart, I am a local government practitioner. I have spent 20 years in local government, and therefore it just does not sit well with me to agree to legislation that comes to Parliament and gives NARA the right to ignore the professional advice of municipal corporations and members. It doesn't. Clause 21 leaves me thinking that the authority is at large. One, to establish timelines for inspections, evaluations, and assessments, as well in 21.2 to set deadlines for decisions for approvals or other inputs made or submitted by the authority. The truth is that I get a sense of a very high-handed approach in how this is worded. And I reiterate that recovery and resilience projects are going to require fast tracking. We understand that. No question about that. But I am sure these approving entities are all on board. And therefore, there must be some way, after all, these are the same entities who are going to have responsibility for post-approval monitoring. Yeah? But NARA is designed to run roughshod over their opinions. And so that's in my head. But then again, I'm thinking that this is the same government with connected persons involved in one way or another with construction, some even being flagged for building breaches. Yes, yeah. And therefore, I am thinking that the NARA legislation should also include a provision to resolve the objections by agencies. Otherwise, what's the message that we are sending to everyone with an application before those same authorities?
Yeah, especially those who are not big business.
So what is it? It's only the big trousers man them can ignore parish council? The rest of us mortals have to go and make changes to our plans when they object to what we have in front of them. That for me don't sit right. It doesn't sit right. Quite frankly, Madam Speaker, I think there's a very easy fix for this, quite frankly. I believe that what we could do is simply include in the legislation actual pre-approval consultation. Yes? So that that mechanism is encompassed in the law itself. Madam Speaker, whether it is UHWI, Market Me, Cornwall Regional, CMU, WHI, Nestle, Petrojam, the purchase of used school buses, the lack of transparency, the questions around oversight, yes, loom large. They loom large. And then I look under part 2 of the bill, clause 7, and I see that the minister may appoint a committee to examine and report to the minister on any matter arising out of or connected with any of the authority's powers. But that is may. First of all, I believe that NARA needs a proper oversight committee, where that appointment is not may, but shall, in terms of these kinds of reports and overview. There should also be a mandatory reporting cycle to Parliament, as the opposition leader and others have signaled and suggested. So, Madam Speaker, as I take my seat, I want to say that all of what I have placed on the table does not leave me with a level of trust that would have me voting for this NARA legislation in its current form without specific clauses in the legislation to ensure greater transparency and accountability. Because at the end of the day, it's my children and grandchildren. It is going to be the people of Southwest St. Andrew, in fact, all Jamaicans, who are going to bear the burden of repaying this debt. Thank you.
The next presenter.
If you're just joining us on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, we're listening to the debate in the Parliament of Jamaica. They are debating the NARA bill. That is the bill that is supposed to do the reconstruction after Hurricane Melissa. It's the National Reconstruction Resilient Authority. So it's the National Reconstruction and Resilient Authority, NARA.
Rise to make my contribution on this bill, the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, Act 2026. First of all, my view, having listened to
Christopher Tufton is going to give his
but on that side, is that this bill, Madam Speaker, should not be as controversial as it is made out to be. I really don't think so. However, I have an appreciation as to why this is the case. Madam Speaker, we exist, unfortunately, and I think there's enough responsibility to go around in a low-trust society where many see actions of our political leaders and governments as sinister, and where some, recognizing the sentiments of a wider population who is cynical, see this as an opportunity to exploit for political advantage. And this is very unfortunate because it bears very little to address the issues. What you get instead, Madam Speaker, and this is my own interpretation, not casting any judgment on anyone, is that the arguments that have emanated from this debate up to this point are stimulated by emotive objectives rather than logical, practical, and contextual attempts at finding solutions to a crisis that affect the people that we represent. And I honestly do think that those who allow perfection to be the enemy of good are hurting the over 500,000 Jamaicans in the 5 critical parishes that have been impacted by this hurricane, Category 5, the first ever, while we here debate, prolong, and engage in emotive insinuations. Again, the consequence of a low-trust society. And I do believe, Madam Speaker, that as leaders we need to rise above this, and that this represents an opportunity for us to be one as a parliament and a government to solve the challenges that the people face. For me, Madam Speaker, there is a context. There is a context to this debate, this discussion. This is a context that has a practical component to which this bill seeks to address, and it appears is being ignored. For example, the member from Eastern Westmoreland, who I know has been impacted, and indeed 2 or so days after the storm, I went to his area, and I believe a week or so, he and I were at a similar location trying to address some of the challenges. And I saw the pain, rightfully so. But we were there working together. But the member, I think, is, and I say so respectfully, is failing to appreciate when he speaks about the title of the bill and ignoring that the response to a crisis has to take place in stages, Madam Speaker.
Hey, babes, remember the piece.
Thanks for listening to us on Caribbean Radio 97.9 HD4, where we're listening to the discussion in the House of Representatives right here in Jamaica as they discuss the NARA bill.
JDF supported evacuation, some from your area, or bringing in external supports, NGOs, setting up hospitals, mobile hospitals, bringing in doctors, when our own doctors were victims, healthcare workers were victims of the storm. That was the first phase. The second phase is to try to resume a sense of normality to people and to communities by opening up roads and doing the other things that are necessary to facilitate commerce. And with the trauma that persons are suffering, that should go some way in terms of therapy. The third approach, and the final and more sustainable approach, is what we're debating here, this bill. This bill is the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority Act, rightfully named because having passed the first and second phase, including those who got 150,000, as you have said, or 100,000 as the case may be, because the truth is, if you were to quantify by dollar value the pain, the suffering, and the trauma that those 500 people suffered during that time, Madam Speaker, you could not equate that to a monetary value. But
Hold a minute,
On a point of
order.
As the minister said, respectfully, I don't understand, and the Prime Minister asked why respectfully, right? And he went on to suggest that I am saying that there shouldn't be an emergency response, essentially, to the hurricane. I never said that. The point I made, Madam Speaker, is that based on how the relief efforts are structured, if an individual got $100,000 through TEF, and that same individual had total destruction of their home, so during that initial phase that you try to do something for them, they cannot go and get the benefit of the $500,000, having already benefited from the $100,000 through TEF. That's the simple point I'm making. That's something that everybody can agree should be fixed.
Madam Speaker, I take the members' suggestion, but I would say that this is not a reason to oppose the bill, which we are debating here in this House. What we're debating, what we're debating, Madam Speaker, and Madam Speaker, this is why, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, if I may be allowed, this is why I started out by saying, member from Eastern Westmoreland, Madam Speaker, some protection from you, please. Madam Speaker, the member
Minister.
The member as emotionally traumatized as he has been and is, rightfully so,
Minister,
because of his representational responsibility,
Minister,
is supporting.
Minister, Minister, the same members. If you would only listen and follow the rules, both sides would be able to have a far more comfortable debate. I am giving no one extra time, not even a second extra. Therefore, I would like you to use your time properly. So, Minister, if a point of order is made, I've said this before, and you're responding to the point of order, indicate it means your time does not continue to run until you have responded to the point of order. If you are ignoring the comment, then we continue. You do not need to indicate, you ignore the comment and you continue with your presentation in the debate. That means your time immediately starts running again.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll say quickly, the only point I was making is that there are many times when representatives who have an issue on the ground zero, including the member who spoke, can take the phone and call myself as Minister of Health, we have had conversation, to resolve issues of this kind, in this case, the Minister of Labour. However, being brought into this kind of conversation, to my mind, is exactly the point I was making. We are engaging emotive reasoning in order to not support what is the most substantial response for the reconstruction and resilience. And I'm saying, let us focus on what is important. But let me move on, Madam Speaker. Let me move on. So there are phases, and we are now in the reconstruction phase. So, Madam Speaker, what is the context that is important in the discussion around this bill? The first context, given that it is a crisis, is the efficiency, or indeed, for better understanding, the speed in which we work to truly restore persons and to make them more resilient.
Listeners and viewers, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Colin Bell Show. We're live on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, as we come to you from the studios of Portland Spice TV. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I please invite you to subscribe to Portland Spice TV at YouTube. We are listening to the debate on the NARA bill in the House of Representatives in Jamaica. What you are hearing is live. We know that the Prime Minister is going to speak this evening. That is what we were told, and we want to bring the Prime Minister's speech to you on Caribbean Radio. So we're going to take Dr. Tufton, and maybe we might not take any more until the Prime Minister gets on his feet. So we're going to be watching as we have our discussion right here on Portland Spice TV.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. The member is misleading the House. It has never been my position, or indeed anybody on this side's position, that we shouldn't have more efficiency, a quicker procedure, and faster resolution of the issues. We're all in favor of that. The fact is that the current bureaucracy and the way the government is interfacing with it has led to all sorts of problems, and which need to be addressed structurally. However, what we are complaining about is a lack of accountability. a lack of transparency, and a lack of oversight. And a lack of oversight. And a lack of oversight. So I'm not suggesting that we don't need to move faster.
No, that's okay. It's okay. Opposition leader. Opposition leader. I've turned off all mics. Opposition leader, Prime Minister is making a point of order on your point of order. Hold on now. I'm asking, opposition leader, are you yielding?
Madam Speaker, I'm not yielding. I'm simply saying that the minister is misleading the House about our position deliberately, I think, because the position is like the country to believe is that we want to slow the recovery down. We would like to fast track the recovery. All right. But we want it to be done in an honest way, not a...
All right.
Madam Speaker.
House leader, I'm having a challenge as well, so I would like you to address it in this discussion.
Yeah.
For far too long, persons use point of order just to disturb the other person and make a presentation.
Yeah.
We are required. I know after today's debate, you will see a speaker's ruling on point of order and how it should be utilized so that we stop abusing point of order.
Yeah. Madam
on
Speaker,
both sides.
Madam Speaker, you have covered the ground. Firstly, a point of order cannot be used to enter into another debate. Members, allow me. Members, allow me.
Please allow the House leader to complete his statement. Members.
Madam Speaker, when I rose on the point of order, it
allow the House leader
to highlight
to complete.
that the member was factually inaccurate in a point he made. That is different. That is different than a member categorizing an intervention. If I believe that your intervention means you are slowing down the process, I must cancel it to that debate without you telling me that I am misleading. You can intervene on facts. When the Minister of Electricity in Energy intervened, he highlighted that he was saying you were factually inaccurate on the numbers. That has nothing to do. Members, this is a debate. For the members who have spoken already, you have got your chance. When the response is, your response will be categorized. Unless there's a factual inaccuracy, do not enter on a point of order. Thank you.
So once again, Caribbean Radio HD listeners, if you're just joining us, we are carrying to you live from the House of the Parliament in Jamaica, Gordon House to be exact, the House of Representatives, where the elected members of Parliament sit as legislatures, and they are debating a bill called the NARA Bill, National Reconstruction and Resilience
I do not
Agency.
have to take any point.
That is the bill that is supposed to deal with reconstruction after Hurricane Melissa.
Remind you of the House rules as well. For a point of order to be taken, it means the person on whom the point of order is being raised must take their seat and allow the other member to speak. For efficiency's sake, follow the rules of the Parliament. Everybody. So, no, I allow the opposition leader. I remember when the Prime Minister was speaking, 2 points of order that were not points of order. It happens on both sides. It is a courtesy. And I'm asking you for the efficiency. No. Please stop that debate. Because when your time is up, your time is up. And it doesn't matter who you are in the house. Minister, continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would just repeat or reiterate what I had said earlier, for fear of being misunderstood. That there's a choice between being emotive in what we say to generate or play on the sentiments of a low-trust society, and being contextual, practical in finding solutions to what is a crisis affecting over 500,000 Jamaicans in the first instance. And I'd say that the opposition leader can't have his cake and eat it. It's either he wants the efficiency of pace, or because he's allowing perfection to be the enemy of good, he's going to add layers of bureaucracy to slow down the process. On this side, Madam Speaker, on this side, it is important for us to balance the scales and to achieve the efficiencies that are required, but that's also the pace. And I give you an example. Since I was the Minister of Health during the 100-year pandemic called COVID-19. I want to give you one example, because health is particular in these types of crises. We have to act very quickly, and sometimes we're accused of acting outside of the framework of some of the rules when we act in the interest of saving lives. You know, I recall when vaccines were scarce, Madam Speaker, and we were fortunate enough to get 78,000 doses of vaccine, but they were to expire within a week. And the task at hand was to accept the 78,000 doses, to give Jamaicans who were hungry for the vaccine to save themselves, or not to take it because of the close expiration date. We opted to take the vaccines. Usually, if you know how vaccines are administered, it's normally the public health nurse and their support systems. The doctors don't get too involved in it. And I recall when we started the process at the national arena, the doctors who came to assist with the administration of the vaccine at some times were not allowed almost by the nurses, who hugged up it because it was their responsibility. There's a process, a protocol that requires you to sit for 20 minutes to see if there's any adverse reaction. Well, at the end of the period, in order to distribute the 78,000 doses, I recall being in Falmouth Square with a public health nurse, with an igloo with ice with the vaccine, approaching a lady frying fish under a tree. She didn't even sit down. She took the vaccine and went back to doing her regular chore, abandoning almost all the normal protocols in normal time in order to address what was a crisis. That is a practical solution to a context which impacts saving lives. This is what this bill does, Madam Speaker, and we should make no apologies for it. In fact, Madam Speaker, the most honorable Prime Minister has given examples of countries that have had similar crises and have had to put special purpose vehicles in place. And we could expand that. New Zealand and the Canterbury earthquake recovery, 2011. Australia, New South Wales, 2022. And of course, Peru and the Authority for Reconstruction with Change. All special initiatives to deal with a context and to find special arrangements to deal with the people. I urge this House, Madam Speaker, colleagues here, let us put, and I'm using your template now, let us put the people first when we consider the next stage of the reconstruction and resilience, and stop engaging in a practice that will only delay addressing the concerns that they have. Madam Speaker, the next critical issue that I'd like to address linked to the bill because I think it's in keeping with this low trust society that is creating this cynicism, is the issue of oversight. And the opposition has made heavy weather of oversight. And I do believe that issues around oversight is perhaps the bigger issue. There seems to be a lack of confidence in the process as being prescribed to implement measures and to provide the relief that the Jamaican people needs. And it's okay, I believe, to make suggestions to strengthen the bill. I have no issues with that, and I think we all should accept that. But I think to take extreme positions, which ultimately...
Once again, thanks to my listeners and viewers. If you're just joining us on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, this is the Colin Bell Show, and we are carrying pieces from the Parliament of Jamaica live. We're listening to the Minister of Health, Dr. Chris Tufton, at this time.
Accommodate appropriate levels of scrutiny up to the point of this Parliament interrogating actions that have been taken. Section 4 establishes the authority's function, including requirements for established performance indicators, reporting standards, project tracking systems, and compliance. And I hear the member talk about how do we know what will be done, what are the plans. It is contained in the bill in terms of the requirements to have a plan and to make that plan public, which gives you an authority the right to interrogate it. Financial accountability and audit oversight, section 9 to 11, requires the maintenance of proper accounts and records, the preparation of annual audited financial statements, access by the Auditor General, Madam Speaker, the systems that exist currently to interrogate the action of the leadership under this new arrangements, and annual reports that will be submitted to the Houses of Parliament and to the Senate. Together, Madam Speaker, these provide a robust framework for financial transparency, independent scrutiny, and parliamentary oversight. I am not sure which bill they are reading because it doesn't sound like the bill that we have here debating today, Madam Speaker. Ministerial oversight and planning discipline, section 10 to 13, requires the authority to furnish reports. And of course, those reports will find their way up to the Cabinet of Jamaica. The government, you know, one of the oversights of the debate is that the practical reality is that the government was elected to lead. And again, the people have entrusted in the government, as we do every 5 years or otherwise, to provide leadership. We cannot allow that leadership in a time of crisis to be stymied by the over-bureaucratization as insisted by the opposition. Because at the end of the day, they are the same ones who will come and accuse us of inaction to address the very problem that we face. And we can't do that. Cabinet control over approved projects and implementation plans, section 17 to 19, is very much there. Procedural safeguards for expenditure approvals and step-in powers, section 21 and 24, very much present. Madam Speaker, I really have to wonder if the members fully understand what this bill is about. When it comes to balancing the need for speed to address an emergency, to address the 500,000 plus Jamaicans who are in need, with the need for oversight, which even the Parliament here is involved in providing. Madam Speaker, I close by saying...
St. Mary Western. St. Mary Western.
This bill, Madam Speaker, should not be so controversial.
Minister, you have enough time. I would like you to repeat the point you were making. I could not hear you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate your protection. I was saying, Madam Speaker, that there are provisions in the bill to deal with oversight through the regular channels of oversight responsibility, from the Parliament to the Auditor General, to the Cabinet of Jamaica, to publish reports, PAAC, And I wonder, and it forces me to say that on that side, they seem to be caught up in the trap of the low trust society where they probably don't trust themselves. Why they provide the argument on all these things. And it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate because if Madam Speaker, we on this side trust ourselves to go right by the people. You don't seem to trust yourself. Why you're questioning existing arrangements that are in place for oversight? So, Madam Speaker, in closing, Madam Speaker, I wish I had a Naira for Cornwall. It would have been a long time. It takes the procurement process for Naira take between 6 and 12 months per procurement transaction. That is why it's dragged out so long. I wish I had a Naira. We should have declared Cornwall a national emergency and subjected to quicker decision making. But that's another issue. Madam Speaker, I close by saying that we should be careful. We should be careful that we do not allow perfection to be the enemy of good. We should accept where suggestions can strengthen the bill. We should make those suggestions in all sincerity, bearing in mind that the primary goal is to address the plight of the Jamaican people who have suffered over the last number of months. If we did that, we would send a good signal to the country. We would demonstrate that as leaders, we want to go past this low trust society, and it is starting with us because we mean the people good and we put the people first. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The low trust society is created by people like you, Dr. Tufton. You with Cornwall Regional, the prime ministers whose statutory filing cannot be certified. As Angela Brownberg mentioned it, the used cars for the police, the used buses for our children, Petrojam, Nessal, CMU, the school bond scandal. Those are the things that create the low trust society. So I do agree with you that we are in a low trust society. We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir, Mr. Bell, and good evening to your wonderful listeners, sir.
How are you doing?
Not bad at all. No, this Naira bill only created for one purpose. And
What?
the only purpose it created for is used as a weapon to get rid of the Integrity Commission, not for the Jamaican people.
Not just the Integrity Commission, but used as a tool for nepotism, cronyism, political victimization, and to rob the Jamaican treasury.
Exactly so. And the second and foremost important thing, I'm just wondering when we're gonna have what do they call it, independency.
Independency in terms of what?
Well, we don't have any independency, so the only time we're gonna get independence, Jamaica is gonna get independency, is when we get rid of this man.
Which man?
The so-called leader.
No, but this man now move for the next 5 years. The people voted him in, you know.
Yeah, I hope as that, but at the same token, that's when we're going to have a second, it seems like, independence, because right now we are in slavery.
Well, I don't know how you said that. I'm not in any slavery.
Well, you might not physically,
nor
but if you look
mentally.
mentally.
I have emancipated myself from mental slavery. I have freed my mind.
Well, doesn't look like it's free to make a we have a fight.
My
fight
mind,
in here with
my mind is free. I don't
no,
know
we
if
have
yours
a
is
fight
free.
in here. We
Eh?
have a fight in here that no people will have good sense cannot ignore.
Well,
we are in a terrible situation, you know, regardless.
we are. We are
Right.
having poor governance. That doesn't
Right,
mean
so
that we
this-
are in slavery.
Well, basically we are. Because
am
if
not.
you look at the situation that we are in right now, first, when we check slavery people never have rights to certain things, never have rights to education, they never have right to proper medical. So what's the difference? What's the difference?
We have rights to education in Jamaica.
But having rights to something and not having it physically doesn't make any sense, because or somebody tell that you have the privilege to have something, but at the same token, no, you don't have it. It would be like you know that as long as you're born from a woman womb, you are a world citizen. But at the same token, you have a passport, which is a Jamaican passport that can bring you nowhere.
What do you mean it can't bring me nowhere? My Jamaican passport can go everywhere.
Yeah, you can go places, but not without a visa.
Well, that is true.
That's what I'm trying to show you.
I have to have a visa to it to go anywhere.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to show you. So you're not, even though you're supposed to be a world citizen, you're not.
World
So that's what
citizenship. Bob Marley's.
Right. Right. But you're not. So that's what I'm trying to show you. So this man is only doing everything to protect himself. So this Naira bill is only to protect him. So he will gain sole power over everything. That means all of the ethics community and all of this considered moral good will be gone.
He wants to be a king.
I don't think he's want to be a king, because he doesn't have what it takes. He just want to be a very cruel person.
He want to be a king. He want to make laws by himself. He want to call the shots. And when him talk, no dog not supposed to bark.
The man is cynical. The man is sadistic. Him sick. You ever know when a certain type of person
is he a
rises
narcissist?
up? Yeah?
Is he a narcissist?
Him is everything as long as he have to do it negative.
All right, so a little more.
All right.
Yeah, man. 1-876-804-7072. We're taking your call. Yes, caller. Good evening.
Yeah, man. Me about you from Evelyn.
Yeah, but when you see
Yeah,
me,
man.
when you
Hey,
see
all
me,
right.
no, but hold on. When you see me, I carry stuff like that. You know, make no sense you call me during that time. You know, you need to wait until I cut it because
No, but me just want to say a one line.
Yeah, but me not gonna put you on
Come here,
live
say
while the thing I go live.
All right.
Go ahead.
Me I say no. With all of the checks and balances in place, with all of the other things they were they end up over the years, and yet still fee ministry, tough time ministry, no audit for the last 10 years. Right? Him gone over $900 million, and them I tell you if you trust them. What kind of people them, man?
Then that's why I say the man is correct when him talk about the low trust society. And that low trust is brought about by people like him.
I know PMP are spending money, so all PMP business with trust. And you will not trust.
Exactly.
When I say no make no sense, no stupidness in my chat.
No, it's not stupidness, it's reverse psychology my use.
Yeah, me understand what you are saying, but me I say
them do all the while use reverse psychology for the Jamaican
stupidness people. I know we are spending no money, right? You come in now. The Prime Minister can't get account for $12.8 billion out of fee ministry. He can't tell you where the 340 billion when he get 3.4 billion when he get to make house. And he tell the Auditor General say him not no competent and all them listen. And you tell we say we if you trust your same way and all of those things in the system no one not answer to no question. And then what we not do when we not get this where the point when one of them pick it up and tell you know, remember saying no, all of the things that they say were in I bill, you know, the Prime Minister can overrule it, even if the man go a court and find guilty, him can dismiss it. That in the bill.
I know that Omar Newell supposed to be speaking this evening as well. Based on the fact that he's from St. Mary, who want to take his presentation too. But listen to me, brother. Listen to me. This government has not earned the trust of the Jamaican people.
Not trust.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica.
COVID.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica has not earned our trust. His statutory filing for the last 4 years have not been certified.
Man, Man, like how you can't do nobody nothing when they do it in a parliament, man. Man, if you don't blatantly call him man a thief, man, criminal. Play it to them. Call him criminal, man. Because right now, not one like
Angela went some way down that road, but she stopped short of reminding the Prime Minister that his statutory filings have not been certified.
Big and thief. Who don't expect to just take a country money and man, all of them want to pass because they know so they're rich after that, you know. Everybody a billionaire after that, you know.
Yeah, man. They might come out
because
with them pocket full.
if you get no checks and balance.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. That all of them want, you know, because they know if any pass, then good. Because you can't lock them up. The bill right with so much protection for them. Right? That means you know them not even prison, you can't go. Or when they know say you're thief, you can't do them nothing. Remember say they have a clause in if you whistlebird, if man will leak, you know.
Yeah, man, if a man leak anything, he
gonna
prison.
Yes. Thief, you know.
Yes, sir.
I man will talk. I'm talk and go to jail, you know, man with thief. I will not tell people say, what kind of who think of a bill like that?
Most a criminal.
Man, the man is sick, man. They're sick stomach.
All right, brother.
Man, they're supposed to glad that the 80s gone. When I'm political warfare.
All right, brother. We don't want about that. Later. 1-876-804-7072. This is the Colin Bell Show. We're live on Caribbean Radio. 97.9 HD4, and we're taking your calls. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show. You're live on Caribbean Radio. 97.9 HD4 Bro Gary Radio. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, Colin.
Blessings, my brother.
Colin, a lot of people don't understand how dangerous this bill is.
No, they don't.
A lot of people don't understand how dangerous it is. Let me tell you how this bill is. Notice all the agency wind up tying to it. All those agency wind tying into it, give him a free rein, you know. If you do things like displace you, you know.
Yeah, man. Isaac Buchanan spoke about it yesterday.
Yeah.
That he wants to build the
you know.
He wants to build do the parliament building, and him can just move the people, put them anywhere he want, put them because this bill would give him that awesome powers.
Yeah, and gerrymandering. I speak this on your show before. Gerrymandering before this come out, I call a couple weeks ago and tell her this gonna give him the right here, and he's doing gerrymandering with what he's doing.
Well, him not start it yet, but him can do it.
Yeah. Let's say he wanna move your house. He can come, let's say, must start a development because this rebuilding thing is a development. And you go and say, okay, we'll run a road through there, so. But your house is in the way. He can do it without no question.
Yes.
Move your house. Don't even give back the house where you want, put you in a container house, someplace else where you don't want to go. Let's say you live near the hotel area. And God forbid another disaster come and erupt your water system or what have you. It can take away your water and give it to the hotel.
The bill said them can do anything. Anything.
Anything.
That's so wide the bill is.
Anything.
And hold on, caller. Hold on. Those of you who don't believe us, listen to Marlene Malahu Fort, a member of the government side. She toured into the bill and said the bill needs reworking. In her 30 minutes presentation, no less than 6 times, Madam Marlene Malahu Fort, former judge, former attorney general for the government, former minister of constitutional affairs, she said the bill needs reworking.
And Malahu now, I would say this, she have to say it because it's too blatant.
Yes.
But don't think for a minute that she's not doing it on a bargain chip as well.
But look on Donovan Williams or Rosie say a thief.
Yes.
Rosie
but what
said
I'm
Donovan
saying,
Williams a
Malahua use
thief.
it as a bargain chip.
You mean they are defending, I try to defend the bill now, you know?
Yeah, but don't think for a minute. Don't take that off the table that Malahua is not doing this for a bargain chip.
Possibly. Well, I said it last week that after
Yes.
this, maybe you say she getting some position like what they did
Yes,
with Warmington. Because remember, you know,
all right.
Warmington did
There
start
you go.
wet them up, you know. And then they just name
Yeah.
Warmington as the EOJ rep, getting $22
There you
million a month a year. Yeah? Quiet
There
him.
you go.
From that, you know, you're not
But
more to Warmy.
Yeah, but this is too blatant for Malahua not to speak out against it as a judge.
Yeah.
But she's still using it as a bargain chip.
Well, that is a
Yeah,
pregnancy. We will see it.
Yeah, and what we are saying now, it's not only affect the people in Jamaica, even people in the diaspora.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
people in the diaspora have so many property, they can come, don't give them no reason not to come and take their property now.
Yeah, man. Anything
Because
they want.
you can go through and change your building code for what you're building now, regardless you have your permit, just because you don't want you build it there, and change the code, then do everything. A lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, man. This bill gives the Prime Minister the
I
authority
don't
to do
think it's just-
anything that
Yes.
he wants to do.
And by the way, you hear Tufton coming out and talking about the bill is just something to get going now. Okay, why you waste time and write it, and then you come about time is an essence? Is what you're saying?
Come on,
Time is an essence. Why you waste time and write that garbage then?
There's no
Why you
quick.
didn't go through and do a joint committee and get it done one time?
All right, my brother.
So
Little more.
You can't come out and blame the PNP because they must speak what it is supposed to be. It's not, the time wasn't to be your concern all along. Your concern all along was to structure something that you all can't teach.
All right, my brother. Respect and thanks for the call. 1-876-804-7072. This is the Colin Bell Show. We're live on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4. We're taking your calls as we are discussing the NARA as the debate continues live in the Jamaican House of Representatives. Go ahead, caller.
Blessings, Colin.
Yes.
I want to address two things that let me take you off.
Yes, please. Talk to me on the
Two
phone.
things that the minister spoke about just now.
Yes.
And the first one is the first couple sentences that came out of his mouth, where the irony does last on him, especially, and by extension, in government. Remember the first couple sentences when talk about?
No, remind me.
When him talk about the low trust society.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The irony is not in the room with this government. Because just before him, Mrs. Brownberg spoke on all of those procurement guidelines that were breached.
Yes.
Because of expedience, right?
Yes.
Because they want to speed up stuff, they breached the procurement guidelines. And what happened?
The country lost.
No vehicle?
We lost.
Okay, the country lost
terribly
at the expense of taxpayers.
Yes.
So the irony disappear when it come on to them, and especially wrong and strong Tufton. Very wrong and strong Tufton, because I'm going to beat him chest and say it loud and proud that if there was a NARA, then Cornwall Regional would have done already.
Yes. And we
the outer hardness of this man.
And we still going to hear how much money then thief down a Cornwall Regional because we know enough.
The outer hardness of this man. You realize that him not have no qualms about him when he come on to this. Him not care. And the idiot them over there talk about say one toffee. One toffee.
Hold on. You know, you're a wussy, so.
I never doubt. Me a listen, but me never hear who.
Are the Obia man nephew sister, you know? You know,
Listen.
The man was saying uncle Obia man, so he could have solved crime by using Obia.
Him is the next case.
The
same one we have the same one about the vehicle them, the police vehicle them.
The same God Almighty one.
Okay.
Him over there say one toffee.
Okay,
Woo!
the irony is lost on them. The second thing I want to address, MP Buchanan have a program called Context Matters.
Yes.
I guess when when you can't put things into context, you lost the entire conversation. Because when he mentioned and he tried to compare COVID-19 with Melissa, I was saying, where is this man going? Because separate and apart from the fact that there are still persons living outside, some infrastructures are still down. The emergency of Melissa has passed.
Yes.
Am I right?
Backside Prime Minister. I want a Prime Minister. Wait, Prime Minister not in the Parliament yet. He was in there
the
a while ago?
emergency. He was there. He was there because he wanted to raise a point of order on Mark Golding's point of order. So he was there.
Yes.
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 So the emergency of Melissa has passed. So when you're going to talk about an ongoing issue, an ongoing pandemic, in the midst of a pandemic, you're issuing out an almost expired vaccine to people even on the street. You cannot compare that to an emergency that is not happening, because it's been 7 months since Melissa, and you have persons who are not even who is not even waiting on the government anymore. There are persons who actually make up their mind that they're not getting any help from the government, so they have moved on with their lives. So the emergency of Melissa has passed. You cannot compare an ongoing issue with something that is not happening. So context matters.
Yes, definitely.
Because in COVID,
and hold on, the bill don't have nothing about recovering from Hurricane Melissa, you know. Now I've nothing about that tonight, you know.
Exactly. It doesn't have anything about Melissa.
It don't mention
so
the
really
hurricane, you know.
People.
Well,
so
that's what Isaac Buchanan said yesterday.
It doesn't involve the people.
The bill don't involve the people.
So when you're talking about we are here to help the people when the bill does not include them, who are you helping? Because all you talk about is rebuilding stuff. I don't hear about rebuilding anything where it involves helping the people that have lost. And when he mentioned about the emotive of dating a camera with $100,000 and he might try to play on people's emotion, he's being deceptive.
Yeah, man.
And a hypocrite.
But I'm style that, you know, he's the one of the most deceptive one in there.
Yeah, man, deceptive.
Yeah, man, one of the simpler one them,
and
man.
Dayton was right in calling him out that he's being deceptive, because that is exactly what he was doing. And then he's going to say that we are using, you know what got me? When him say that if it's the emotion that they're using for not wanting to pass the bill and everybody over there not bench. So nobody's getting the context in which Dayton is speaking, because nobody made mention that they didn't want the NARA. But if there's no guardrails around NARA, what is the use for NARA?
Let's listen to a little bit of Chris Dawes. He's on his feet right now. Thank you, caller.
Oh, okay.
For us to be right. They are waiting for us to get it right. And being right, Mr. Speaker, and getting it right are not always the same. If we are genuine servant leaders, not merely in title, but in practice, then I beg this honorable House, examine the evidence, weigh it honestly, update your positions so that the bill we pass today into law will secure the present of the people who sent us here and the future of the children and grandchildren they are raising in rubble. We were not sent here by the powerful to protect the powerful. We were sent here by the powerless to protect them from the powerful. Mr. Speaker, the man in the street watching these debates is asking one question: what is NARA? The superficial answer is that NARA is a reconstruction body. But the question is not what NARA is. The question is what NARA is for. Is NARA the answer to the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa? Or was Hurricane Melissa the answer to this government's long and deliberate march towards authoritarianism and absolutism.
That is it. That is it, sir. Long time that for
Because,
said.
Mr. Speaker, the bill before us does not give power to the people to rebuild their country. It takes power from the people and gives it to one man, accountable to one minister, anointed by one prime minister.
That is the 1 p.m.
What is proposed here today is a bill that entrenches this government's long-held desire to concentrate power and resources into the hands of a few and to castrate the state agencies and civil servants whose constitutional roles are to act as watchdogs over every taxpayer dollar. Mr. Speaker, I have searched the Caribbean, the Americas, the globe for a reconstruction body with a similar oversight and accountability framework. I did not find a better model that Jamaica ignored. I found that Jamaica invented the worst model. I am convinced that this government has designed the weakest governance model for a disaster reconstruction authority that has ever been assembled by a modern democracy. A model destined by its very architecture to be scandal-ridden, destined to fail in its strategic objectives of efficient, resilient, and meaningful reconstruction of the infrastructure and the lives of Jamaican people. The Prime Minister spoke of Peru. He carried us thousands of miles across the world to find his cautionary tale. But, Mr. Speaker, we need not travel that far. The answers are closer to home. The warnings are in our neighborhood. When Hurricane Dorian swept through the Bahamas in September 2019, a Category 5 storm, the strongest ever to make direct landfall in that nation, the Bahamian government did not reach for a CEO with absolute powers and an advisory board. They built a full governing board of directors with legally bound fiduciary duties. The Disaster Reconstruction Authority Act of 2019 established a separate chairman, a vice chairman, a managing director, not one omnipotent executive answerable to only a prime minister, but a board with duties, with power, with accountability baked into the law itself. The Bahamas did not trust their reconstruction to one man. They trusted it to a board. And yet, this government asks that Jamaica trust ours to one man with no board. On procurement, the very area this bill defers to, with a ministerial order after it passes, the Bahamians wrote the obligation directly into their law. All contracts awarded within a fiscal year must be publicly disclosed. Their audited accounts had to reach the minister within 3 months of the financial year end. But, Mr. Speaker, even with all of that, the Bahamas still had a scandal. Their forensic audit revealed extreme executive salaries with no basis in performance, companies billing the government for work that they can't prove, and contractors without submitting evidence of a single word.
Make we ease out Dr. Daz. Magwan good, but we have Raleigh on the line. And we are going to go to the financial analyst, the number one financial analyst in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Hold on, caller. Raleigh, good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
How you doing, my brother?
We're good.
Yes, give us an update of what happened in Jamaica today now.
Well, the Bank of Jamaica said it will be mopping up some $35 billion tomorrow. That's the major highlight today. And in relation to the subject that you are discussing, both Carol Narcisse and Dr. Gavin Myers from the National Integrity Action say we have had a whole lot of experience in terms of misallocation of scarce resources by government agencies. And as a result of that, they are not supporting the way this bill is constructed, and they want to see a multi-stakeholder approach to the construction of this bill.
So civil society in Jamaica is
28 civil society groups,
saying no to
No,
the way
because-
this bill is written.
Yes, because we have had the experience of the misallocation of resources, and she cited what is happening at the University Hospital of the West Indies as one incident. Yep. So they are saying no to the way this thing is being done.
We need the bill to be reworked.
Correct. Yes.
That's what
they're
Marlene
saying.
Malahou-Ford said.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's what a lot of people have been saying.
Yeah,
and
man.
that the
Yeah,
bill
man.
should be sent to a joint select committee of the
Correct.
parliament so
Yes,
as to
yeah.
get it right. Accountability, transparency.
Correct. Everything that is
Safeguards.
being said in parliament, that is what they are saying.
Let's go to a call. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show.
Hey, Colin.
Yes, sir.
Colin, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, because there's a lot of noise making over this narrative. What is it? How can civil society bring pressure to bear on government, on the present government, to have this thing done properly to represent everybody? What can civil society? How can civil society impact it?
Raleigh, you want to take that on?
Yeah, well, they can make recommendations, and they can speak to the public and increase the level of public awareness and public education, which is what they have been doing.
So, has civil society been voicing their opinion on it?
Yes, they did. 28 civil society groups have voiced their opinion on it. Up to today, they were talking to me on RGR FM 94.
So, but is it if the government is hell bent to not making any reform or changing anything, they can go forward despite the noise.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
well,
then,
I mean,
then that is where no public protest comes in.
Precisely, yeah.
Because my feeling about it, I mean, we don't want to waste too much time, and at the end of the day, it gets nowhere. They just do what they want to do. But if pressure can be brought for them to make the necessary change and address the matter so that so there is oversight, because that's the meat of the matter. They need to be oversight. They cannot be the arbiter and decision maker of how the money is spent. So if we can't succeed by the noise that we are making, it's an exercise in futility. Because the opposition is not seen to be making an impact to them, because they seem hell-bent. I was just listening to the health minister speak, and they have no shame.
Yeah, we know that. But we can't remain silent.
They have no shame, because you
We know
can't
that, but
shame
we
these
can't remain
people
silent.
into do what is right, and that is disturbing. It's the people's money, it's the country's money. If they fuck it up,
hey, Tala, take your time. Take your time. We're on radio.
If they mess it up,
yes,
it's the people of Jamaica who have to pay it back.
Yes,
and
Yeah,
out
man.
of this, out of this kind of expenditure, the country must also be on a growth path to earn our way to make our our level of productivity better, so we can feed ourselves, and we have to borrow less to feed ourselves.
Yeah, man, that is why we can't remain silent.
So if we're not going to achieve those things, then I mean, may as well not bother with it.
All right, caller. Raleigh, you were about to...
So the thing is, we have to make a lot of noise, but it can't go on, because we can't allow for the bullshit.
All right, caller. Thank you. Go ahead, Raleigh.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, we can't remain silent, so we have to make noise, yeah? It can't be that way, so boy, them are going to do it, so we not bother say nothing. Yep, we have to say something, increase the level of public education, and bring public pressure to bear.
And more of us now need to be talking. We have to get louder now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Let's go to another caller. Auntie Winnie.
Good night to you, Mr. Raleigh.
Good evening, Auntie Winnie.
I want to be the only one controlling this thing called Naira because I
Hold on,
really don't
Auntie
know.
Winnie, hold on. Hold on, Auntie Winnie, hold on.
Mr. Speaker, let us examine precisely what this bill creates at its center. One CEO appointed directly by the Prime Minister. No merit-based selection requirement in the bill. No independent vetting. No governing board with fiduciary duties. An advisory board only with no power to override, no power to dismiss, no power to compel. They call it an advisory board. But advice without authority is not governance. It is chattings. This CEO, this Caesar, will exercise authority over nearly 2 trillion Jamaican dollars. He will select his own auditor annually, subject only to the approval of the cabinet secretary, who serves the same cabinet that appointed Caesar in the first place. So, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister appoints the CEO selects the auditor. The Cabinet Secretary approves the auditor. The Cabinet Secretary serves the Prime Minister. This is not a circle of accountability. This is circling the wagons. For $2 trillion of public funds, this is what we are signing away. We are being asked to spend the money now and account for it later. But later it's too late for the people whose money is being spent today.
Is it $2 trillion, Ralston? That's the amount that Naira will spend?
Well, if we included the 2.4 billion US dollars in private investment inflows, but that's not going to flow based on what is happening in the global economy at this particular point in time. Because when things were good, we only got 305 million. So we're looking at the 3.2 billion US dollars, which is about 512, about $500 billion Jamaican dollars.
3.2 billion.
Yeah.
Multiplied by 160. Yeah.
Yeah,
$500 million.
$500 billion.
512 billion. Yeah.
Billion dollars. Correct. Yeah, man.
Well, let's take this call. Hello. Go ahead, Auntie Winnie.
No, listen, this Naira is going to involve money, yes?
Yeah, man. $500 billion.
Well, I tell you, and in less than 6 months, Andrew cleared the whole lot. That's all I got to say. Yeah. Andrew is a big thief, and there will be not a cent left.
Behave yourself.
He will not.
Do not say that about the Prime Minister. Don't say it about the Prime Minister.
Oh, you look at Andrew. Andrew did thieving when he was coming out of his mother's womb.
Hey, tell her. No, say that about the Prime Minister.
Good night to you, my darling. Good night.
All right, Auntie Winnie. Don't say that about my Prime Minister. Eh? Can't say that about the Prime Minister, Raleigh. The only thing you can say about the Prime Minister is his statutory filings have not been certified for the last 4 years.
Yeah,
so the Prime Minister have not satisfied the Integrity Commission in how he come by that whole heap of money.
Yeah, which is why the people now say, boy, it is plausible that you can use the terminologies that she has been using.
Oh.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, so
they're looking at the evidence. Yep. Yep.
Oh.
So the thing is evidence-based, you know?
Hold on, nephew. The people them said that are going. Make we hear a little more rhyme.
The financing to pay for these ambitions. Financing that future generations of Jamaicans will have to repay with interest. The storm destroyed the people's homes, and the government is using the money collected and meant to rebuild those homes to build their own legacy project and home. For 10 years, 10 consecutive years, Every major hospital in Western Jamaica has crumbled under the weight of the Cornwall regional debacle. Patients from Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and Hanover traveled all the way to Kingston because their regional hospital could not serve them. And for 10 years, this government did nothing sufficient. Now Melissa has come. Now there is Melissa money. And what rises to the top of the project list? The government campus, the parliament building. For 10 years, they could not find the money to fix the hospital that serves the West. Now they have found the money and they're spending it on the East. The people who suffer the most are the last in line. Relax, Rose. Wait. Rose. East, Kingston.
Kingston.
Priorities. Rose, of all the people interrupting me. And who decides? The bill is explicit. The cabinet shall cause to be issued the authority and official list of approved projects. NARA cannot even originate its own project list. Every comparable reconstruction body in the world, in the Bahamas, in Haiti, was empowered to identify and originate projects. NARA must wait to be told what to do. The authority has all the power to build, but it has no power to decide what to build. The power to execute is given to NARA. The power to direct is kept by the cabinet. This is not delegation. This is subcontracting corruption. If the Prime Minister decides that the new Parliament building is a reconstruction and resilience project, it goes on the list. And NARA builds it with your money, without a board to question it, without a parliamentary vote on procurement, without an Auditor General review. Mr. Speaker, let me speak to what is truly at stake. Then raise a point of order. It's an internal auditor for 1 year. Mr. Speaker, let me speak to what is truly at stake, because this is not a debate about institutional design. This is a debate about the future of Jamaica. The destructive force of Hurricane Melissa can be a blessing in disguise if the short-term pain unlocks the long-term transformation of this country. $2 trillion. The largest injection of capital into this economy in our history. This could solve the age-old problems that have plagued ordinary Jamaicans for generations.
Let's ease out Dr. Dawes a little bit. I have to go back and listen to him. Nevio, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. Good evening to everybody. Good evening, Ralston. I want to ask Ralston a question.
Go right ahead.
Raleigh.
Yeah, man.
I noticed the banks has increased their fee.
Oh yes, Neville. Thank you. Good one.
The product they are offering to customers.
Yeah, man.
The question I'm asking, Raleigh, if we the shareholders must expect an improvement in dividend now that the bank will be collecting more money.
Well, that would be a reasonable expectation, but only the directors of the bank could answer that question, because normally they take it for themselves. You've noticed NCB now paying dividends again, but that is a question for the directors of the banks. They're going to be making more profits, and they are going to be deciding whether they are going to be distributing more to the stockholders.
But Raleigh, after making record profit last year, they're still going to increase these fees. Why so?
Why so? Because they're operating in a free market and there's nobody to regulate them. The governor is leaving and none of those problems have been fixed.
Well, Raleigh, NCB increased their fees in December. This is the first full quarter since the fees have increased. I am expecting an improvement in the dividend for this quarter.
Well, it should be.
Improvement.
They should do it.
Mr. Bell,
Yes, sir.
just before I go, please, sir, please, just ask your callers to show a little more respect to the office of the Prime Minister. Sir, please.
Okay. All right.
I noticed even the chat room, people have been very, very disrespectful to the office of the Prime Minister. And you don't really have any control over that.
But Nevio, I agree with Chris Tufton that we are in a low trust society. But this low trust society was brought about by the Prime Minister, Tufton, Bobby Montague, Darrell Vaz, and then people that bring around this low trust society, people like Ruel Reed, Andrew Wheatley. People have there are evidence for this low trust society, People never just get to this stage just so,
All right, let me give another caller a chance and go back for this.
All right. So, Raleigh, the bank will intervene tomorrow in the foreign exchange market?
No, they're going to be mapping up liquidity. That's the other tool. Two tools them use. One them intervene in the market and the other one them map up Jamaican dollar liquidity.
So they are going to be mapping up tomorrow again?
35 billion.
So for the foreseeable future, Raleigh, we're not seeing anywhere that the government is encouraging the business people in Jamaica to invest.
And that is why this Naira thing is so important, because we're talking about a situation now where we are saying we have a market economy, but at the same time, the operations of the government and the Bank of Jamaica is preventing the private sector from playing the role that they should play. And that is why this Naira thing is so important, because what is that the government want now to take over the commanding heights of the economy, which they were against during the 1970s. Not even Michael Manley took on so much power during the 1970s. No?
Not even Eddie Siaga in the 80s.
No, precisely. Yep. So that's where we are now, where government wants to take the commanding heights of not even the government, the Prime Minister himself wants to take over the commanding heights of the economy. Not even Mike went down that road, who they say was a communist.
This is a dictatorship business going here, so with the Prime Minister can call all the shots all by himself.
Trump style, yeah. Yep.
They said that at the beginning of the parliament today, they said that they want to take the bill through all the stages today. So, wonder if we are going to see a vote Vaz Colin Vaz act up in the parliament and Dr. Dad. Well, I know so they have more coming, because I think everybody on the opposition side are weighing on this, I don't know if nobody ever left. Well, they're weighing, because it looks like who this is coming up now, Dr. Russell. We have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Afternoon, Colin. Afternoon, Raleigh.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, man, good afternoon.
In 2010, when we had the debt exchange, can we say that was a feature of the disruption in the financial thing brought about by the Jamaica Labour Party?
Yeah, man.
And what was the specific reason for the debt exchange?
The specific reason for the debt exchange is that there was a global event like this one. Yeah, there was a war in the Middle East in 2003. America overstayed its welcome in the Middle East. That created a problem, the Great Recession. That in conjunction with the subprime mortgage crisis created the Great Recession. This government ignored the Great Recession. If you notice, the war got 9 weeks now and the Prime Minister never talked to us. It was the same approach at that time. And when they spoke, Ardlishaw, Ed Bartlett, tell the country that the recession would help them. Bruce Golding said going to the IMF was neither necessary nor appropriate. The crisis deepened and they took long to go to the IMF. They never approached the IMF until 2009 when the thing was emergency. The reserves dropped below $1 billion. 100,000 persons lost their jobs. The current account deficit was 13% of GDP. The fiscal deficit was 6.5% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 10.5% of GDP. But just to tell you what they got in 2007, that's the last time the economy grew by 3%. The net international reserves were 2.4 billion. Unemployment was 9%. Poverty was 9.5%. That is what Omar Davies handed over to them. And that's where they took us in 2 years' time. So at that time, the debt to GDP was 147%. And the IMF said that in order to get an agreement, you'll have to do the debt exchange. That is what happened.
Yeah, but since they're mopping up liquidity, the government is going into the markets. How financially stable or how financially viable the government has to secure those bonds that they're putting into the market?
Well, the Bank of Jamaica is
a resurgence of a debt exchange?
No, the Bank of Jamaica is independent, so it is the Bank of Jamaica that is dealing with this problem. This is not a government problem. The certificates of deposit are run by the Bank of Jamaica. So what the Bank of Jamaica do is use it as a tool to contain inflation. So what them do is take money out of circulation, pay 5.75% per annum on it for 28 days every time them come back and them do that in order to keep inflation down. So what them do is reduce the amount of purchasing power in the economy by taking money out of your hands and pay to keep it in the vault. The banks are stable.
I understand that, but the BOJ intervenes. Does the government intervene as well?
No, it's BOJ.
Oh.
Not the government.
On behalf of the government.
No.
Yeah,
The government has intervened since the year start rally, haven't they?
No, well, government, the Bank of Jamaica does the intervention. The government does the borrowing.
Right, the government float some bonds and use that to borrow.
Them borrow for fund the budget. Bank of Jamaica intervene for map up liquidity.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm not concentrated on BOJ. Is what the government.
No, the government. What Raleigh is saying that the government does not mop up liquidity.
The Bank of Jamaica mop up liquidity.
The government float bonds to borrow money to finance the
fund
budget.
the budget.
And yes, and my question is, given the financial struggles that the government is going through, how viable are those bonds? Would there be a debt exchange maybe in the future?
Well, they don't have a problem at this time, but if we
pay out those bonds,
hold on, caller, go ahead, Raleigh.
They don't have a problem at this time, but if we allow them to waste the 512 billion that they're getting to borrow through the Naira, then we'll end up down that road. And that is why getting a proper Naira bill with public consultation is so appropriate. So it's good that you're asking this question, because if we allow them to squander the 512 billion, then we'll end up down that road again.
okay.
Yeah, man.
That was what I was thinking
Yeah,
about.
man.
And when
Yeah, man. That is why I want everybody to weigh in on this Naira bill.
If it was a feature of the crisis.
No, they've been mapping up before the crisis. How much have they mapped up so far since this year, Raleigh? Thank you, caller.
We're about 145 billion now.
145 billion mapped up since the beginning of the year. And how many have they spent intervening in the US market, in the currency market?
Well, we don't have this year's number yet, but between last year and April of this year, it was 1.2 billion US dollars.
1.2 billion US dollars worth of intervention. And really, we not save much on the dollar. But somebody was asking, how much does the government of Jamaica hold the local banks?
We'll have to check that. Yeah, because local debt is a significant. The majority of the debt is US dollar. About 62% of the 2.4 trillion up to before we borrowed this money was the international amount. So The rest of it, 38% are from local institutions and local people.
Okay, because the government also borrow from individuals.
Yeah, man. Institutional investors and individual investors.
Who buy the bonds and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, man.
Rally.
Pension funds and all of those places.
Right,
yeah.
right. On what premise? Explain the premise where the banks increase their charges. What they give some rationale to the increase of their charges.
Them just say, boy, some things they never used to charge for, and now them are charged for those things, and them know so them not have nobody to stop them. It's a free market, so them just do whatever them do. They have to give a concrete explanation where anybody has say you put them under scrutiny. That system does not exist. So them just raise it willingly because they're oligopolists.
But with them doing that now, does that give more credence to what Fitzjackson was saying, that the bank should at least give us some service?
Naturally, but the government voted against it. Yeah, naturally.
What the government voted against people. What Fitzjackson was saying, that the banks should not charge us to deposit our money in the bank.
Precisely.
The bank should not charge us to withdraw our money.
Yeah.
The bank should not charge us to transfer money within the same bank.
Precisely.
And to check our balances. That's what Fitzjackson was saying, you know.
All those charges have been increased. Yep.
But the people voted for the government that voted for the banks and voted against the people.
Yeah, man. So it will tell you about the stupidity of the Jamaican people. Simple.
That shows you that the Jamaican people not listening, not paying attention.
Yeah, man.
Because the government vote against the people and the people go back and voted for the same government.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Somebody's saying the bank's in trouble. Are the banks in trouble?
No. The non-performing loans are less than 5% of the total loans and advances. So that's not true.
And the banks are making mega profits.
Yeah, man. That's not true. Yep.
876-804-7072. We're taking your calls. You're listening to the Colin Bell Show. We're live on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, and we are on Portland Spice TV at YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, like, and share. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers now. We're very close. We'd love for you to assist us. Want to say good evening to all the Portland Spice ambassadors. Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4. Port St. Lucie, good evening to you. Good evening to Lauderhill, Broward County. Good evening to Philadelphia, New Jersey. Yeah, man. Rally. So, this NARA bill, Rally, if it is passed, as I am very weary, based on what the leader of government business said today, that they are intending on taking the bill through all the stages today. If this bill is passed, Rally, in its present form, what do you think will happen? And then what do you think should happen?
Well, we'll end up with more misallocation of scarce resources, and then we'll end up with a massive economic problem, which could create problems for every sector of the economy, and that is why we should not allow it. So if it is passed, it means that there must be mass protests in order to get it recalled, because it will be a dangerous development, because it is adding to the debt. Yeah? And as the civil society people said, we have many experience of misallocation of resources. $3 trillion cannot be accounted for. Cornwall Regional started at $2 billion. We are now almost $30 billion. And we can have a completion date. So we have a whole lot of experience in relation to this thing. So we must not allow it.
And if they go ahead and push it through, do you think a court is in play?
Yeah, a combination of court and mass protests on the street. Court and street. Because the courting out long. The courting is going to take some time. So in the interim, the people have to take to the street or something like that.
And what will mass protests do to the Jamaican economy, Rally?
Well, mass protest no means you have to burn down the place. It's the people all over the world have peaceful protests. We have it in America, you have it in Germany, you have it in England, you have peaceful protests all about the place.
And it
So,
doesn't have an effect on the economy, even if people decide not to turn up at work.
yeah, but I mean, but it will be marginal.
Minimal.
Yeah, minimal, man. Yeah, man.
Speak to us about the salary negotiations, because we heard the president of the JTA this morning warning the government and asking teachers to wear black for yesterday and today, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Speak to us about those salary negotiations at a time like this, Raleigh.
Well, the basic thing is that the people are saying that the 2% can't work in this environment where inflation is accelerating, because inflation is already at 4.3%. So when you give me 2%, it means that you cut my salary, my purchasing power by 2.3%. So the money that you're giving me is going to be buying less. And inflation is not going to stay at 4.3%. It is going to accelerate as it's doing internationally, right across the board, right across the world, America, Europe, UK, Middle East, everywhere inflation is accelerating. Oil was trading at $112 per barrel today, and oil is a major driver of inflation. So the people are saying, what you're asking me to do is to take a real salary cut.
But
And that's the
Raleigh,
problem.
if all public sector workers get 5 and 6% increase, where would that money come from?
Colin, the government have access to $3.2 billion US dollars right now.
Yeah, but they're going to spend that in the Naira. That's what the Naira is about, to copper claw that 3.2 billion.
That's why it can't work, because you can't take all of the money and put it in the Naira and give the people the money. That is why people like ISET and them might say no, include the people. Or if you take all of that money and put in a Naira and give the people the money, the people who are doing the work in the country, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, and all of those people. That don't make no sense. That can't make no sense. I remember the government is collecting more taxes off of the oil. Yeah, so they have that money plus the Naira money. You can't just take it and put in our projects and the doctors and the people we are expect for run the country. You know, pay them, cut them pay, because there's a pay cut that when you give them 2% and inflation is 6% and 7%, it's a pay cut you ask them to take. Why should they take a pay cut while people who run the country I get 300% increase and have all of this, super money? That can't work.
By what time these salary negotiations have to be completed?
Well, there's no timeline, and that was one of the things that the fiscal commissioner said, that the government must start, because most of the man them submit them claims from October, November, and then the dragging out and the distance and the lack of attention cause the thing for drag out. So sometimes when the thing really come, we're gone in another fiscal year. Yeah, and that's a problem. That's what the fiscal commissioner said. The thing can't be indefinite. You have to conclude the thing before the budget so that you know how much money you're going to spend on the budget.
Caller, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show. We are live on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4, all across the US and the world. Ralston Iman is online as well.
Even to Ralston too.
Yeah, man. Blessed, brother.
Colin, you realize the Grace Kennedy and we think a group of company and raise them for
and, yeah, man.
And separate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And separate.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So that's why I tell you about inflation.
People don't accept that. Okay, how big to accept that?
But hold on, caller. Ralston, speak to us about those price increases. Grace Kennedy, Seprad, with Cinco, those are three of the biggest producers and distributors of food and drinks
so that
on
tell
the
you
island.
So that tells you about the flow through impact it have upon the entire society, because of them man that supply most of the stuff. So that's why I tell you, say the inflation are going to accelerate. So how you going to tell the people if to take 2% when inflation accelerate to 8 and 9 and 10%? That joke business, it can't work. That is why the man them get so strident. It can't work. Remember, the people who are around the country take them 200 and 300% already, So them all right.
Go ahead, caller.
Remember also.
It can't work. When I'm trying to people about the people and stuff, they can't work for you, Colin. Every month they can't work for people. People are going to need better pay.
Somebody said chicken price increased 2 weeks ago. Tell me how much a pound for chicken meat in Jamaica now. Somebody tell me. I haven't purchased that in a long time. All right, caller. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, all right.
How much a pound for chicken meat in Jamaica now? Ralston, you not go supermarket.
No.
So we don't know these things.
No. Woman them can't tell you.
Yeah, but somebody say chicken price increased 2 weeks ago.
Of course, they're calling. So I think the big man find it necessary to say want him full money retroactively. If him can't say that, what about them little people?
Yeah, right after the election.
Yeah. So if him can't say that, what about them little people? Then
my God.
British oil closed at $111.26 today, and US oil closed at $99.40.
So is the highest US oil reach now?
Yeah, man.
So things now get better. What is going to happen tomorrow, Raleigh? Because we need to make certain we make some noise today, you know, because the cap must remain at 450.
Yeah, man, of course. Of course. Yeah.
Raleigh, you have to talk about it tomorrow as well.
Yeah, man, of course.
Cap must remain at 450.
At 450, because at 111, them are collect more taxes than them even collected last week.
So it was because of the noise we made.
Yep.
That the cap stayed at 450 last week.
Yes.
Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Again.
It is the day that they sit down and determine what a liter of gasoline is going to go for.
Correct.
We want to say this to the government and to the people of Jamaica, because if it means that we go and lead that protest there, you know, we go and lead that protest.
Yeah,
we're
man.
not taking no increase of over 450.
No.
The government must maintain that 450 cap.
Yeah,
and
man.
you move the insurance.
Yeah, man. And we'll say you're collecting more money.
So the ad valorem tax
Yeah,
can
man.
suffice.
Yeah, man. Collecting more money.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show.
Even Colin and Rastan.
Bless.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yesterday I call you and tell you about the education thing. And me tell you, say, if you want democracy to die in a country, then kill education.
You listen to Crawford?
You listen to Damian?
Yes.
You did. I'm going to ask you, listen to Damian's speech to the brother.
The numbers, pure numbers, the man come with, you know.
Damian, I mean, Colin, is that when the man talk about, you talk about generations where for the last 10 years, where under you see all the crime where you see they go on in Jamaica, it is stemming from the lack of education among the youth. You know?
Yes, man.
Because if you check it out, enough of them youth there under 20, under 30, you know, Colin, we are get killed. You know?
Hold on there. Where's the rally?
As the caller said, the crime, the bad choices in terms of governance and how people vote and everything there are due to the lack of education. Just like as you said a while ago, the man them vote against the thing for the bank and the people them still vote for them. The man them do all kind of corrupt things and the people them still vote for them. Come back to what the caller said, the lack of education. Simple.
Yeah, man. The lack of understanding.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Continue, caller.
The beginning of the end of this, you know, when was when they cut out civics out of the schools, you know, because civics is to teach the kids how the government structure in the country should function.
Right. And what you should expect from government.
And exactly. And you know,
Because you know when civics was cut out.
of that, they must go and they don't care.
Hold on, the caller. Where's the rally?
You know when civics was cut out?
Yeah, man.
Oh, 1980.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
You see what I mean? All right, so Colin.
Yeah.
You see from and who was in power in 1980?
Okay.
The blind man. The blind man.
Yo, Colin, listen to what I say. And see the man I try cap it off, you know. I top him cap it off, you know, because they achieve what them probably don't want to achieve by not investing in education.
Right.
So now they want to go full autocratic. You understand what I'm saying? I know the thing about it now is that you have a set of persons who are there not understanding what this NARA thing is, and all they do is run up and down, and the PNP want to stop this, or people don't want the government to go forward, and they don't want Andrew to succeed, not knowing that they are the ones who are going to suffer in the end.
Correct,
And
you're
just
right,
going
sir.
to be fine. Tough time going to be fine because them got all of them need already.
I don't get what they need already. Them are going to take more.
Yep.
Exactly.
When this
we go to the
done.
hospital. Colin, when
Hold on.
a
I
patient goes
want to ask if Tufton is building an apartment down at Ochi.
You don't know.
Me I ask, is Christopher Tufton doing some apartments in Senton? Me want to ask. Me want to ask if Juliet Holness is actively in real estate right now, doing real estate development. That is the Speaker of the House, the wife of the Prime Minister. Is she doing real estate development? Does the people of Jamaica think that is okay for ministers of government? The Prime Minister's wife, the Prime Minister is going to control NARA. Most building approval have to come through the Prime Minister's office. If you talk about NEPA and all them places there, and the Prime Minister office them there. So
Which is
the
what is
Prime
already
Minister
happening.
Eh? Where's the rally?
No, I say which is already what is happening. That only will get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the Prime Minister wife actively in a real estate right now, you don't think that all right? If Tufton a build apartments and Darrell Vaz a build apartment, you don't think that all right? You not all right with that, Jamaica? Everybody all right with that? Go ahead, caller.
Colin, I come from Eastern Westmoreland. See?
Yeah.
My mother's house was devastated. Roof blew up clean. But how the house is structured, she has a business place and down the bottom and her dwelling on top. When she went to see if she could get any assistance to put on back her roof, she was told that because it's a commercial building, she will not be considered for the assistance. No, remember no, brother. The woman lose her entire roof.
So hold on. Is it that they are saying that she will not be considered for an assistant under the roof program, but she'll be considered under another program?
The roof program. They said the roof program. I don't hear about no other program. I hear in the parliament the man when the man mentioned there are other programs. The people, I mean, they ask themselves which other program. You never hear them in there ask about which other program you talk about.
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't know about other program.
And if you get help under one, you can't get help under the next one because Dayton Draw mentioned to the lady we get the 100,000 from TEF and couldn't get into the 500,000 even though her house was totally destroyed.
Yeah, hold on there. Colin.
Yeah.
The minister told me that if you get assistance under them program, then you can't get nothing under the roof program. So that is correct.
Yeah, Dayton brought that up today.
Yeah, man, the minister said that, man.
And then the minister in the parliament and a point of order trying to say that the roof program is not the only program, and that's when Dayton remind him that if you get under one, you not get under the next one.
Yeah, man.
And there's nothing in NARA to say that people who have lost their house totally will be getting anything out of NARA. That not in a NARA neither.
Colin, you know the people who are backing the local, the citizens of Jamaica who they chime in and are back the government in this NARA thing, and most of them were not affected by the hurricane. So they don't know the extent to how people are living in the West now. I see because they don't know. You see, people like you know because you go down there and you see what the people are going. You understand? And 6 months after the hurricane, nothing for some of the people get any better.
Yeah.
And you want to put this bill forward, and there's nothing at all in the bill that speaks directly to the areas that were damaged. And you don't talk about really when you say that will be
resilient.
Resilient. When you're going to be the parliament, you're going to build the parliament and put the people in lose their house in the parliament.
You see, we don't trust the Prime Minister. We don't trust the Prime Minister. And we say that openly. We don't trust your Prime Minister to give you those powers that you're asking for.
Colin, and the Prime Minister alone, we not trust. We not put it on to the Prime Minister alone. We not trust the ministers. None of them we not trust.
All right.
Tell me one minister over there where you trust.
Me?
Yeah.
Over there?
Yes.
Where me trust?
Tell me one. Yes. Tell me one, Colin. Just single out anyone where you trust.
Me trust the Prime Minister.
You're okay. That's
me trust him to do the wrong thing.
Okay.
Me know, you see, when you know somebody, you know them out there, you can't trust them. So, say, if you invite certain people in your yard, put on certain things, certain place.
Right.
So, you can't trust them to do the wrong thing.
Well, you're right. But anyway, still my boss.
But
DM me and vindicate my argument yesterday with the presentation.
Yeah, man. The government is not interested in educating the population.
Yesterday argument where the guy come with yesterday with Ralston, I tell us to take him out and we'll come out of the argument. He was trying to rebut what I said earlier in the piece.
Yeah.
And come to with the facts and come demolish all of that.
Yeah, man. All right, my brother. Respect. Right. Raleigh, we're wrapping up. Anything you want to say finally?
Well, as I said, this is the biggest sum of money that the country will ever borrow. And if we do not use it properly in today's global environment, because we always have to talk about the global environment because we're a small player in a global environment that is deteriorating rapidly. Everybody has seen the deterioration. So it means that we have to be extremely vigilant and to make sure that we maximize the level of economic growth, employment, and development that we can get from this money. So we have to ensure that the structure that is going to be spending this money is in the best interest of the country. So we need to educate as many people as possible as to the state of the global economy, the state of the Jamaican economy, and what will happen to future generations if we do not use this money properly. So we need to be targeting the young people and to get them to understand the state of the world that they are living in, the state of Jamaica, and what is going to be their future in this environment if we continue to misallocate scarce resources.
Thank you, Ralston Iman. This has been the Colin Bell Show. Thanks to all the people on Caribbean Radio, 97.9 HD4. We do this every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. on Caribbean Radio. We want to thank all the people listening. Thanks to all the people on Portland Spice TV. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, like and share our channel. We do it again tomorrow evening right here on Portland Spice TV when we'll be having more guests talking more about this Nara bill. May the good Lord continue to bless and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his light and give you his peace. Neville, we give you the final talk.
Hello, good night.
Yes, Neville.
Good night, Ralston.
Raleigh gone.
Yeah, Colin, good night, listeners. Colin, you know.
Yeah, man, we are listening. Neville, you mute yourself. Unmute. You mute yourself, Neville.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
When you have a group like the Grace Kennedy groups of company and the Muslim group of companies that own separate, and they are telling you that they have to push on the costs of all of these price increases onto the population, it tells you that the economy is in serious decline.
Yes.
One of the ratios that these shareholders in these two giant companies, one of the ratios that they watch is a ratio named the price earnings ratio.
Mm-hmm.
When they get their dividends from the profit that they make, they ratio it against the market value of the shares.
Yes.
And all of these companies' price earning ratio is above the inflation rate. 2 times above the inflation rate. That's how they protect their money. So the average citizen out here must watch what they call their expense to income ratio. and look at all the products that these companies sell and see how you can find suitable substitute for them or make some of them at your home yourself. Or just simple boycott some of them, yeah?
That tailor your suit to your fit.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And count your costs before you mount your ass.
Tala. That
Because
is it.
you know that the government owe Grace Kennedy a whole heap of money.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Grace Kennedy is one of the largest creditor of the government.
Yes. Yes.
And when you see the two of them coming at you, the government coming at you with taxes of Grace Kennedy product. And Grace Kennedy have to maintain the margin.
Yes.
You know that the economy is in serious mess.
Well, never.
So what's your wallet?
Wake up, Jamaicans. Wake up and shake up.
Yeah, the system is now suffering from a disease named More.
More.
Yeah, take
Never.
care.
We'll talk again tomorrow. Thanks, listeners and viewers.
Continue.
This has been the Colin Bell Show. Join us tomorrow for more.
Tell them to try pre-we, big up Portland Spice TV. Tell them to try pre-we, big up Portland Spice TV. Remember to subscribe. See, Portland Spice TV. Louis Culture say it once, so I say it again. Portland Spice TV. We are going to hold them and pop it off. Bogus match where we rip off. Subscribe, share, Portland